I am going to make myself a quesadilla for lunch. I have a bunch of flour tortillas left over. I have cheese. This is one of my favorite ways to use it up. I love quesadillas. However, quesadillas are not very nutritious. There's not very much nutritional value in this giant store-bought flour tortilla. There's not too terribly much nutrition in the cheese. There's some protein, there's some vitamins and minerals, but not super nutritious, and there's hardly any vegetation just in this hot sauce of mine. So I'm going to make my lunch healthier by having a side of Brussels sprouts. And that's probably why you clicked on this video, because I probably titled it something like Brussels sprouts. Anyway, this is one of my favorite vegetables to eat as a side. And if you don't like Brussels sprouts, you might have not had them prepared very well. So I'm going to show you a very simple preparation that's probably my favorite preparation, and it's nice. So first, in just a nice skillet on medium heat, I have about a tablespoon of butter. And if you're one of those people who is scared of butter or saturated fat, you can always use olive oil, but you know, a little butter won't hurt you unless your doctor said not to have it. Anyway, I don't always do this step with Brussels sprouts, but these Brussels sprouts in particular, when I first cooked them up, my husband did not like them because they were way too bitter for him. I noticed they were a little bitter. Wasn't really a deal breaker for me, but yeah. If you want to make them less bitter, if you notice your Brussels sprouts are bitter, cut off the bottom part and then remove the outer leaves before cutting them in half like that. So again, just see this little woodsy part here. Unless you get them fresh on the stalk at the grocery store, they will probably have that woodsy end. And when I remove that, these outer leaves just kind of fall off on their own. But remove any other leaves that are loose. The leaves on this right now, the remaining ones, are very tight. They don't come off easily, so I'm going to leave those. And then just give it a nice solid chop. I'm trying to show, okay, this angle. It's so hard to cook with a tripod in front of me. Just give it a nice solid slice down the middle. It's important that you hold the Brussels sprout firmly as you're using your sharp knife, because they have a tendency to roll around on you. Discard any loose leaves. They will be bitter. So I firmly squeeze the Brussels sprout with both fingers, like my index finger and my thumb. I sink my knife in so that it's in, and then I press down with all my strength. If I were to just go at it, it might slip, it might roll, I might cut myself. So if you're a beginner level cook, keep these things in mind. Even if you're an advanced level cook, keep those things in mind. Trips to the emergency room are not fun. And if you find any like bits of dirt or filth or whatever in your Brussels sprouts, discard those, cut around those. Okay, the Brussels sprouts are all chopped, and now the other thing that I add to make this delicious is a clove of garlic. And I find for this application, my favorite way to prepare the garlic is to just slice it into a few slices. That way they won't burn when they're in the pan with the Brussels sprouts, and they will perfume the butter. So speaking of the butter, it's all ready. So I'm gonna put these Brussels sprouts cut side down in the buttery pan. Like, you can just dump the Brussels sprouts into the skillet if you want to save 30 seconds, but I think it's worth it to put it cut side down because it gets this nice, nutty, crispy brown, and meanwhile the tops of the Brussels sprouts will steam. So as I'm putting these Brussels sprouts in, I'll just slide garlic cloves kind of around them. You can use any fat you want. Like I mentioned earlier, I have cooked these in rendered bacon fat. Rendered duck fat is delicious. Honestly, my favorite is just butter though. And again, if you're one of those people who's scared of saturated fat, use olive oil. And I made pretty much just enough Brussels sprouts to fill the entire skillet. Salt. I would also add some ground pepper here, but I don't have any ground at the moment and I don't feel like grinding any, so I'm just gonna do salt. Now this is an important step. Cover it. What this does is it sautés it on the bottom and it steams it on the top, so they will cook faster and more evenly. You want to leave these for about 4 to 5 minutes. Meanwhile, my quesadilla skillet is heating, so I will get my quesadilla ready. So like I mentioned before, these tortillas are huge. This is way too big for my skillet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half. And I'm going to make 2 smaller quesadillas one at a time. So if you saw my Winco grocery haul video that I posted a little while ago, this is all that was left of the giant block of Jack cheese that I bought. So for quesadillas, you know, you can grate the cheese, but I usually don't bother. I just slice it. I did, full disclosure, zip on down the street to Safeway and got another block of cheese. We do have some cheese in the freezer, but I don't think that'll be quite enough. Yeah, I have like enough cheese right now for one little quesadilla, but not for two. And then this is some of that cotija that I got in the shopping haul. And cotija does not melt, but it has a really nice flavor, so I kind of like to supplement my jack cheese with it. If you want to be more authentic, of course, use like that Oaxacan cheese. It's kind of similar to mozzarella actually, but you know, use whatever cheese you want. These are your quesadillas. I happen to like jack cheese with cotija. You can also, of course, add cilantro or jalapeno or green onion or leftover meat or anything else you want to add to these, olives. I honestly just like them plain like this. So I just put that in the hot skillet and fold it over on itself, press it down a bit with my hand. And I cook it for 1 or 2 minutes on one side, and then I flip it, basically just till the cheese melts and the tortilla is a little bit crispy. Okay, this has been cooking for, I don't know, like 3 minutes or so. So I'm just gonna check on it. If you, like me, live in a cheap apartment with this terrible, dreadful coil stove, they are inconsistent. They don't always heat to the same temperature all the time. So it's important to check when you're cooking things. See, it's starting to get brown. They're already getting pretty soft. They're almost cooked through. You do not, under any circumstances, that was my plate getting warm in the microwave. You do not, under any circumstances, want to overcook these Brussels sprouts because then they will taste like farts. That's probably, like, if you have had Brussels sprouts before and you did not like them, it's probably because either they were old and bitter and nobody really removed the outer leaves, like I did earlier, or because they were overcooked. These are almost done. So, like, when I poke it with a fork, it almost goes in. So, just another couple minutes. And that will give me enough time to finish up these quesadillas. So I don't know if you heard that in the background, but my microwave beeped because I'm heating up a plate. It's very cold this time of year, and I hate eating hot food off a cold plate. It's just miserable. So I heat my plates before I fill them with food. Have my nice warm plate, and I'm going to put some homemade strawberry red jalapeno hot sauce on there. It is my favorite condiment to have with quesadillas. It is so good. I do have a video on how to make this hot sauce if you're interested. My first quesadilla is done. I'll cook the second quesadilla. Camera, don't get out of focus in the middle of a video. Fork goes in cleanly. They're nice and brown. They are done. It's always a struggle timing out my meals so everything gets done at exactly the same time. And it's also always a struggle focusing this damn camera. The poor thing, I dropped it half a year ago, and ever since it's had a very difficult time focusing. It just won't focus right now. Ah! Okay, and this is basically it. My unhealthy lunch with a healthy side. I'm gonna start eating it while my second quesadilla is finishing its cooking. Yeah, Brussels sprouts. They're kind of like cabbage, but a little sweeter and a little nuttier. They have such a nice tight texture because all the leaves are so small. This quesadilla in the hot sauce, so good. Well, anyway, if you want to eat more veggies and fruits in your diet, consider doing this. You don't have to just completely give your diet an overhaul, go vegan, eat a bunch of vegetarian, vegetable-rich dishes. You can eat your unhealthy quesadillas and just add a veggie side, and it'll make it automatically a little healthier. Bye!